This is your Weather Xtreme video for Saturday, August the 28th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters, and we've got just a great deal of weather to talk about, so let's get right to some weather. How about this view from the Trussville Skycam? Looks a little ominous, doesn't it, out there on this Saturday morning? But it's just a cloud deck, and we got a cloud deck that looks ominous also down at Dauphin Island, and looks like a little shower off there. I think this is looking to the east, as I recall. On our surface map this morning, we've got a little low-pressure area in the north-central Gulf of Mexico, just off the Louisiana coast, that is going to create some rainy issues for us. And, of course, we can really use those since we've had a number of days without a lot of rain. You can see the upper air reflection on the 500 millibar chart. This is the water vapor imagery. You can see that we're kind of between the moisture, the kind of the grayish area over South Georgia and South Alabama, and the drier air, the darker area, just to our northwest. But that area of showers and thunderstorms is going to be coming our way. In the meantime, temperatures are kind of warm across the country, although it is nice to see some of those darker green areas in the northwest part of the United States that showing that the seasons are headed for a change. Around central Alabama, we're generally in the lower 70s, although I'm sure a few spots getting into the upper 60s. There's the regional radar view, and you can see that area associated with the weak disturbance over southeast Louisiana. That is the area focusing for some flash flood watches as well. That's all the area outlined in green down there along the northwest Florida coast, stretching over into southeast Louisiana, and definitely looks like a good idea. Now, the only thing I disagree with on this is that I think the QPF guys have a little overdone us. I think we're going to see a little more rain than this a tenth of an inch or so, up to a quarter. I think we're going to see a little bit more rain than that as a result of the little weakness in the upper atmosphere that should bring the rain our way. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes on the GFS. There's the Storm Prediction Center's outlook. No specific areas, but we do have a couple of C-techs, one in the northwest part of the United States and the other associated with that little upper low. National Hurricane Center watching 4 areas. Of course, one of those in southeast Louisiana or just off the Louisiana coast that is not likely to develop as it comes ashore. We've got Danielle that'll be passing to the east of Bermuda. We've got Earl. It looks like it's going to give a sort of a glancing blow to the northern leeward or windward islands. And then we've got a new area that is likely to become the next one. I think that's Fiona, as I recall. All right, here is, let's run down them real quick. This is Danielle. Danielle, just a beautiful storm. I understand it's going through a eye wall replacement cycle, so the eye is not looking quite as good as it was on some of the images yesterday. There's the National Hurricane Center's outlook. Going to remain a hurricane for the next several days before it gets over the colder water of the North Atlantic and finally dissipates. There is Earl. Not looking too great, but I think Earl's coming together, and that will be a potent storm, and the National Hurricane Center, of course, forecasting it to become a hurricane on Sunday. And again, a glancing blow has brought up tropical storm watches for the northern leeward islands or windward islands. And then finally, the last one out there in the streak, and of course we are getting into the peak of hurricane season. Still just an area of disturbed weather, but certainly improving in its outlook. And I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a tropical storm within the next 24 to 36 hours. And there is a look at the model guidance, and going to follow right behind Earl. All right, this is a 06Z GFS model run, and there's our little disturbance. There's Danielle out there at sea. There's our little disturbance over southeast Louisiana. The little weakness occurs that you can see just to the west of the 594 heat bubble, and that weakness will allow that rain to come up our way, I believe, and give us much better chances. A cloudy day on Sunday with some excellent chances for rain. The weakness stays there, so I'm a little reluctant to take shower chances completely out on Monday, although the GFS, as you can see the weakness with the break in the heat bubble there, but the GFS is vastly reduced chances for rain. I'm not sure that that's going to happen. I feel like chances for rain probably will be a little bit higher Not as high maybe as Sunday, but Monday we should still see some pretty good chances for rain. That weakness still stays in there on Tuesday, so I'm real reluctant to take it out. The GFS suggests that there is nothing. By the way, over there in the lower right corner is Earl coming up, giving a glancing blow towards the Leeward Islands and Puerto Rico area. By Wednesday, 1st of September, isn't that wonderful? We see Earl out there in the Atlantic, and we've now kind of gotten rid of our little disturbance, so I think we're back to maybe an isolated shower at best. It stays that way. Earl, GFS is suggesting, is coming pretty close to the Outer Banks, but it won't get quite there. And, of course, the next one, which will probably be Fiona right behind. There is Friday, the 3rd, and now Earl is getting picked up by the westerlies and should recurve off into the Atlantic, but certainly going to produce some interesting, a threat at least for the Outer Banks and some swells and maybe some heavy surf out that way. Earl begins to take off out into the North Atlantic. In the meantime, we're pretty much under just ridging with not much weather to speak of as we get into a little bit of a northwesterly flow. So a lot of weather to deal with here. And then finally, looking out into the future, the Energizer Ridge comes back. Known as the 594, centered over Missouri and Arkansas. And then that's the 8th of September. And then finally, here comes what might be, this is the 12th, and here comes a fairly strong shortwave coming across the U.S.-Canadian border in the north-central United States, and that just might be our first really good front of the season. But remember, that's way out in voodoo, so we've got a lot of warm weather to yet get by. Well, thanks for tuning in. I expect to have the next one posted by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great weekend, and Godspeed.
Each day, there are new stories to tell about the people who live here and the place we call home.
All of the faces that I see, all of the places close to me, they're all part of all the best things about home.
Sharing your stories on ABC 3340, Alabama's news leader.